Well, let's cross back to Algiers, where a panel discussing at Canex Weekend 2024 are taking place right now, hosted by Frexim Bank. Let's listen in.
Merci bien. J'espère que je pourrai parler en français. Malheureusement, les gens ne portent pas de casque. Je peux, madame?
I can translate. I can translate.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Ok. Donc, je suis Mamadi Tassamedo, le directeur de l'Académie de propriété intellectuelle de l'Organisation africaine de la propriété intellectuelle.
So he's can I just translate? He's the director of intellectual property of African nations.
Ok, c'est pas une question, c'est pour un complément. Je me réjouis de ce que la conférencière à droite a dit en ce qui concerne le design. Il faut dire que la tenue que je porte, c'est une tenue qui est faite à base du coton burkinabé, qui est fait à base du fil burkinabé et qui est tissé par des femmes burkinabées et cousu par des tailleurs burkinabés. Pour dire qu'en Afrique, nous avons le potentiel, il suffit d'y croire pour que chacun puisse tirer son profit et qu'on puisse développer des produits qui correspondent aux attentes non seulement des Africains, mais qui pourraient également s'exporter. Je profite de dire que l'OAPI organise du 24 au 26 octobre récemment, dans une semaine à Ouagadougou, la conférence internationale sur les dessins et modèles industriels, dans l'optique de faire en sorte que le design soit mieux perçu et que la protection soit au rendez-vous et que cela puisse impacter le secteur de l'industrie créative et artisanale. Merci.
Thank you, sir. Did we get that? Was there a question?
Yes, there was no question. Do you want me to translate?
If you could the very brief version of that, please.
So Monsieur is wearing Burkinabe outfit, who has completely made vertically in Burkina, and he's saying from the October 24th to October 29th there is a huge conference in Ouagadougou about intellectual property and design and industrial design that help design and creative be protected through the law.
Okay, so I think Sir is inviting you all on his ticket to this conference next time.
So if you want to learn more about it, I would suggest to go talk to the monsieur in the front.
Thank you very much. I'm going to request that the next one is a question for the panelists, please. Anyone with a question for us?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your input, sir.
Hi.
Hello.
I thought mentioning intellectual property was a good point, and in Algeria, in Tunisia, and Morocco, we have a very specific skill, and it's very common to North Africa. And we've seen designers like Yves Saint Laurent get inspired.
Sorry, would you mind just holding the microphone?
Yeah, get inspired by North African designs. And my question is, what do we need to do to protect intellectual property? And
that's a great question. Thank you very much. Okay, you want Kenza?
I mean, I'm not a specialist, but I can take, for example, what I have seen happen in Mexico, right? Not too long ago, the Mexican government or representative of the government have called out by name huge brands when they did cultural appropriation, which is, I think, what you're talking about, without actually including artisans or makers within design. So he literally called by name, I forgot who he was, but I remember the case of Ralph Lauren, and we were talking about it. He literally called by name Ralph Lauren, you use our design, and there is nothing that has been given back to them. And therefore, Ralph Lauren has created a department within itself, where they literally go and work with a Mexican designer, pattern maker, waver, and make sure they are part of the conversation, they are part of the economy when they use their design without including them.
And you know what, Kenza, when you say that, my mind goes to the fact that more often than not, there isn't the willpower or the resource to pursue some of these actions. So it's great that Ralph Lauren was responsive and went and created an action plan around this. But I think typically for the smaller entrepreneur, the smaller designer who doesn't have barely surviving on just kind of pushing their stuff to market. There isn't that capacity to pursue some
But
of
it's
these.
the government. It's because the government went after them.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you.
It's actually a very critical issue.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even within Canex, we've had issues where designers have had their brand names stolen and registered in other continents without their knowledge. So one of the designers that's part of our cohort, Canex, had a collaboration with Adidas, and they needed to distribute his product in Asia, and they told him that you don't own your name, and the brand is named after him. So he had to buy his name back in order to be able to distribute the product in Asia. So it's really a critical issue that we have a very robust intellectual property protocols and securitization. We're currently working with the AFCFTA, with ARIPO and other bodies, intellectual property protection bodies on the continent. We need to have an efficient system to ensure that creators know where to register and to lodge complaints, because it's one thing to register. You need to be able to have some form of redemption when you need to have a case that's addressed. Also, there's also the international space where you need to be protected when you are trading outside the continent. So yes, it is a very, very critical element, and between the FCFTA and AU and Afreximbank, of course, we're looking at ways in which we can, working with the ORPs and ARIPOs to ensure that we have an effective way of protecting our intellectual property.
And the conference in Ouagadougou.
Yes.
From October 24th to October 29th.
And I suppose part of the capacity building is actually educating some of the younger, less experienced
That's also
creators
very
around
critical.
this. Sure. Right, one last question from the House, please.
Right over here. I modified my question because they sort of addressed it, but what about logistic and transportation issues? How do you mitigate those challenges in Africa?
That is for you.
Yeah, that's an infrastructure issue, and that's also an access to finance issue. So, I mean, at Afreximbank, we're working very hard with various governments to build capacity, whether it's in infrastructure projects or building logistics. I mean, one of the examples that we actually have is something we call the Transit Guarantee Scheme, which is something that helps from a logistic perspective, where we create one, when you move product, let's say you're transporting merchandise from Zimbabwe to Ghana by road, all the different borders that you have to cross, you have to pay a fee. So what we worked on with the Transit Guarantee Scheme is you place one bond, so you don't have to pay at every single point, which will reduce the cost of moving goods from one corner of the continent to the other. So, I mean, these are really, really huge problems that are facing the continent. And it's not only going to be one institution, it's everyone working together. It's government, private sector. It is financial institutions really showing up and putting the money where the mouth is to make sure we build capacity on the continent.
And one thing that we didn't get to touch on was the likes of special economic zones. We didn't get to touch really on some of the incentives around tariffs and taxes.
Absolutely.
So you might need to call me back next year to do that. A little plug for myself to expand on that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our segment here. I want to start off by thanking you all for being attentive. So if you could give yourselves a round of applause first and foremost. And as you leave this session, just really start reflecting on the roles that you might be able to play to cause disruption in a sector that is absolutely vital. We cannot do without clothes. We need Africa to be self-sustaining. We need to move away from a problem-orientated mindset to actually coming up with solutions that work. That does require, I guess, a will from each and every person to make sure that they're playing their role and influencing their spheres of, they're influencing their spheres of influence. Yeah, did you get that? Beyond that, though, I just want to say thank you very much to each and every panelist. I think it's been fantastic to hear from the experts, really talking to this narrative from an institutional perspective with Kanye. We speak to an entrepreneur, a model, someone who's influenced the fashion industry in the way of Kenza. Santosh really speaking about collaboration and how you can bring people together and entities together to create disruption. And of course, Dr. Pamela, for bringing her perspectives on some of the social impact work that she's doing through her incredible brand, Vanuvamwe. Thank you all very much, as I said, for your attention. It's been a pleasure hosting this conversation. Enjoy the rest of your stay at Canex.
Thank you.
Right, so one thing that I often do, yes, photo opportunity, but I've got a thing now where I take selfies with all my panelists, so if you don't mind obliging me on this. Yes. I'm practicing my selfie-taking skill. No one in my friend group that I did it, but we'll work with that. Thank you. Yeah, that will do. That's perfect. Thank you so much. And I think one official one. Yep. Thank you all very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much to the moderator, Ms. Mucha Hazel Nyandoro, and thank you to the panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, and now we will watch a message of support for the Pan-African Fashion Alliance from Dr. Pamela Coke Hamilton, Executive Director of the International Trade Center.
In just a few years, Canex has become the premier event to celebrate Africa's creative and cultural industries, including its extraordinary fashion sector, a reputation that is well earned. Africa is the home of world-famous woven textiles in Nigeria and Ghana, bark cloth in Uganda, beadwork in Kenya and South Africa, dyed artwork in Mali, and handmade fabrics in Tanzania and Kenya. These techniques have been exported to the rest of the world, influencing fashion on a global scale, and even greater successes are possible if we invest in the small businesses that drive Africa's fashion industries. Yet these small businesses still face hurdles when they try to grow and reach international markets. And that's just when we need their creativity the most. That's because these fashion entrepreneurs have the ability to inspire, to transcend history while making it possible for creators to develop even stronger ties with Africa's diaspora. To ignite a spark in the next generation who will see the artistry on display and say, that's what I want to do, and I have my own story to tell. That's why today we're excited to see Africans' fashion innovators embark on a new chapter with the establishment of the Pan-African Fashion Alliance. Underpinned by cooperative principles, fashion designers from across the continent will together harness the creativity of Africa and its diaspora and promote it on a global scale while increasing the value of their exports, overcoming production and finance constraints, and creating decent jobs. We're honored to support them and grateful to be walking this road alongside partners like the Afrexim Bank, the International Cooperative Alliance, and most importantly, the fashion designers themselves. I believe that if we dedicate ourselves to championing Africa's creative and cultural industries, this alliance can help make possible one people, united in culture, creating for the world, just as our Canex organizers have urged us all to do. And I'd now like to invite you to join us in championing this new alliance so that Africa's fashion industry can reach new heights and ensure Made in Africa designs are seen and enjoyed around the world. Thank you all, and congratulations.
Booyabo, booyuzeka, booyabo, booyuzeka, booyabo, booyuzeka, booyabo, booyuzeka.
For every African, the drum is the heartbeat of music. So we played the drums on the streets. Then we saw the video of Michael Jackson's performance in the same place. By reconnecting, we would just be returning to our roots. And they will also be returning to their roots. It will be a fusion made in heaven.
Então, aquelas pessoas que criaram o Olodum foram buscar no continente africano, na cultura africana, na língua das línguas faladas no continente africano.
Us being here in Brazil, getting exposed to Olodum, the energy of the beat. It actually got me really excited because it reminded me so much of being in what we call a jam, you know, the party. And you put your hands in the air and the MC say something and the people respond. It was the same thing, the call and answer.
But we're about to hit that big Grammy Award winning song right now.
We are really very pleased with all the collaborators, our producers, the musicians, and all those who contributed to making this a reality.
We got the record. Affirmation, we're winning. We're a winning team. We are a winning team.
Come on, brother.
We are a winning team.
You know that for sure. You see that?
We are a winning team. When we approached about the project, I didn't understand why we have to work with Olodum, but later understood that Olodum, it's a huge project which is now helping close to 200 young people, you know, not only in music, and then they've a huge organization.
The Olodum collaboration draws from our intra-African trade strategy. In the strategy, we define intra-African trade with an N. So we defined it as trade between and amongst African countries, but also trade between Africans and the citizens in the diaspora.
The youth always drive the music. So us being able to create opportunities for youth is directly going to create jobs. And there's many jobs and opportunities for jobs, but not just jobs, businesses. You know, I really like to look at this more as an opportunity for us to make our own.
We feel like we have a lot of connection already, even without not so much things happening, like this type of things, like collaborations and everything. But we know that everything that we do, like in the perspective of the creativity, is African.
What we want to try and achieve is to trace those roots, to trace that connection. It's one culture, it's one people, it's a global Africa. Let us celebrate it through music. Let us exploit our culture together.
The project is a beautiful thing. You know, for me, having to collaborate with my fellow African artists is like also a blessing to my career, in the sense that, you know, we have to come together and share ideas.
Start with rumba or samba? Samba. Samba. What do you think? She wanna dance a samba. She wanna dance a rumba. Yeah. I wanna play my rimba. You wanna feel that?
With the music thing, the collaboration between different countries, you know, coming together is all about, you know, the love and everything. So when I heard of it, it was just that thing for me.
Original Mr. Flavor, Askido, on this one. You don't know. Ayole, man. You know, we see Africans coming together to creatively bring their ideas in the music space. And here we are, we're in Brazil, where we're meeting other fellow Africans. most famous girl in the world. Her name is Sophia.
Singer Sophia Enzao and Brazilian DJ Zerb have been sharing their surprise and delight as Milwaukee has lit up global playlists. A local song sung in Kikuyu, a Kenyan language spoken by millions, has captivated listeners, topped global charts and dominated social media. Why? Because it's very rare to see a blend of EDM with African words.
This song is a song called Stop Stressing. Okay? It's by Stephen Marley, and we cut it in Florida at Stephen's place. So now we're gonna add your vibe to the tune. Okay? This has a feeling of an Afro beat, but it's a reggae song. But it's a little bit of both. It's kind of Afro and reggae. So we need all of them to bring it together.
Devotion to that mission between Africa and the world, but especially the diaspora.
Yes.
I was there with him in Zimbabwe, in 1980. I was there with him. There is significance of why we were there and what happened while we were there. Right then, as a child, the importance of our heritage, of where we are from, our identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, which is Africa, the mother of civilization. We gon' fight, we love to fight, we gonna fight it for right.
So I think making this connection with people who already see this perspective and not like link it to another parts of the world, link it to Africa, can show them that we have other ways to grow economically that is not the way that we are used to see.
This is a start where I think with our significant relationships, someone like myself and Esquito, I'm really excited about having the opportunity to work with someone like Esquito to be able to give him some of what my experiences have been, whether that's in business or music or artists, and him giving me his experiences in same thing, business, music, artists, Africa, the culture, how people think, how we move. I think that now creates the foundation for us to give that to another generation. And maybe those young people in the continent come and get some of the things that we have, but more importantly, I think for us to return back to where it's like coming home.
Umculo, njengoba sengishilo, it brings people together. Umculo wenza sure ukuthi nanoma ngathiwa wena ubuyibukela phansi kanjani, but umculo has that courage. It brings courage to each and everyone, to each and every nation, yabo. So uma sihlangene sicula sihlabelela noma ngathi umuntu ubengazizwe right, but ukuhlabelela kuyamthokozisa odabukileyo. So I always believe in that ukuthi it brings izizwe ngezizwe together. So umculo kahle kahle ilona bridge elihle esingagibela kulona ukuze sazane ngapha nangapha.
Well, music has always played a role in bringing people together. That's why you could hear the tribes from other places when, say, the enemy is coming to attack, they'll play a drum. It's always been significant, especially in the African culture. That's why when you say it all began in Africa, the drum began in Africa. As Peter Tosh said, no matter where you come from, as long as you are a black man, you are an African.
We make music every day, that's what we do. But when you find, the purpose of why we do it, and it aligns with projects like these, God bless it.
I'm very, very pleased today that we achieved that fusion. The fusion of the drums of Olodun being the base of an infectious music, we give him the right title.